So say, for example, Dero7, if you've watched any of his videos, he communicates with his higher self as if it's behind his physical vehicle. Now, I'm sure he realises this as well, that is just an illusion. It's not really standing behind his physical vehicle, it's within him. And, you know, I'm sure he understands this, but he just uses that because that's a nice way for his egoic self to understand it in an easier way. You know, it's this person behind me, and that's the ego works well with that, you know. But it is just illusion. It's not really outside of you. It's within. I feel quite strongly about that. Let's take a quick sip of water. So yeah, these days I make the connection with my higher self in all sorts of different ways. Sometimes it's a literal communication within my mind, and sometimes it's just like images and symbolism and metaphors. And something else that started happening quite recently that I found quite interesting is that after I have sex, after I reach my climax, as it were, if I then go into a meditative state after that, I connect with higher self, like instantaneously almost. It's quite unbelievable. And when I connect with my higher self in this fashion, I suddenly find myself in this place of thought, and suddenly I just feel like this ancient alien that has just been waiting and waiting for eons, for epochs, for this shift. I believe that's my higher self. I'm not sure, I'm not 100% sure, but I think that is my higher self. It's like, again, when I say it's this ancient alien, I'm not necessarily saying my higher self is literally an ancient alien, but that's just how I feel when I'm in that space. That's my egoic interpretation of what it is. Because when I'm actually in the moment of it, it's just normal, just makes perfect sense. And then suddenly the ego will come in and catch the higher self, what it's doing. And suddenly the thoughts start coming in, saying, what the hell is this? Where am I? What am I? That's always interesting when the ego catches the higher self doing something, but yet it's all you. So it's this very conflicting feeling. It's quite bizarre, really. But yeah, so I make the connection in all sorts of different ways these days, and the same goes for everyone else. You can connect in more than just one way. Also, there's lots of cues to indicate that you've made the connection. Some are visual cues, some are physical. So say, for example, my heart chakra gets really hot when I've made the connection with higher self. It's like warm, tingly, buzzy energy. So that's an example of a physical cue. Let me think. An example of a visual cue is, say for example, if I'm meditating and I'm trying to connect with higher self, when I'm successful, I'll see two balls of shimmering light within my mind's eye. I say there because I feel like it's almost emanating from my third eye chakra. See it in my mind's eye, two balls of shimmering white light, like orbs, and there's this wavy line of electrical-like energy connecting the two balls of light. So anyway, that's my visual cue that I've connected. Also, you can just sense energetic signatures, and that's just something you can't even begin to put into words. It's just like a sense. So that's just a very intuitive thing that you'll learn on your own. Another point I want to make, I keep on saying about connecting with your higher self, but really, you know, I believe we're always connected. It's more about piercing through the illusion that we're not. So the connection is always there, it's just about acknowledging that connection and strengthening the connection. but it is always there. Another good way to make the connection with higher self, not only can you do it through meditation and things of that nature, but you can also do it through the onset of sleep. Best time to do it during phase 1 or phase 2 of sleep, when the hypnagogic imagery is just starting to come in. And when this is happening, when you're starting to see flashes of images and shapes and colours form within your mind's eye, it's at that point where you call out to your higher self and you ask it permission to make the connection and communicate. Now, when you do this, if you're successful and if the higher self agrees to communicate with you, with the egoic self, you'll feel it's almost like the person in the driving seat changes. I feel my egoic self literally like slipping down. It's quite a tangible feeling. My egoic self slips down as my higher self begins to rise up. Both were always there and both are still there, but it's just like different hands are on the steering wheel now. So that's quite an interesting feeling, and it can be quite conflicting because you get this sinking and rising feeling at the same time. That's how I experience it, at least. I don't know if others experience it in the same way or not. Also, to establish, or let's say to heighten your chances of this being successful, you want to do affirmations before you get into bed as well. You know, just simple affirmations, just telling yourself that tonight I will connect with my higher self. Tonight I will connect with my higher self. And as long as your higher self deems it appropriate to make the connection or to begin communicating, it will. So, and like I said before, just always be aware that it could present itself in so many different ways. Don't expect a literal voice necessarily. It could just start presenting itself to you in the guise of images and colours and ideas and concepts. So yeah, once the presence steps forward and you know that you've made the connection, just direct whatever you want to direct at it. If you are directing a specific question, then just be very thoughtful in regards to how you ask the question, because in my opinion, the question is actually more important than the answer. If you don't form the question in the right way, then you're not ready for the answer. Also know that there is more than just one higher self. There's an infinite amount of higher versions of yourself, so always be very aware of what you're connecting with. And if you are concerned about this, then just ask for your highest self instead of just your higher self, because then you're guaranteed to get to the top of the hierarchy, as it were. But once again, I want to stress it's not really a hierarchy. It's a very anthropomorphic way of looking at things. But that's a good way for the ego to understand it. Yeah, also I want to say that doubting what or who you're communicating with is a very natural thing. If anything, I'd say it's a healthy thing. It shows you haven't gone off the deep end. It shows you haven't completely lost the plot. You know, a lot of teachers within spirituality shun doubt. They say, no, doubt is a bad thing, but I don't see it like that. I think doubt is a very healthy thing. And so, you know, if you are in doubt, that's a perfect opportunity to be discerning and work on your discernment. Everything presents itself to us for a reason, and doubt is the same as anything else. When doubt presents itself, it's for a reason. So pay attention to it. Listen to it. Why are you doubting? Maybe you are doubting because really you're not connecting with your higher self. Maybe you're just connecting with your sub-egoic self or something, you know. So always listen to doubt and learn how to be discerning. However, the quality of information that comes through is always going to be a great indicator in regards to who or what you're communicating with. You know, if you're communicating with just lower aspects of ego, that's going to be pretty obvious after a while.